Welcome to Everything Rodeo, where we separate champions from the rest of the crowd.
We'll take you down the trail of someone's life, a long haul tour rodeo, and our everyday adventures.
So brace yourself.
Because it's fixing to be a wild ride.
We're your hosts,
Nace Renfrey
and Cody Stanley.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Everything Rodeo podcast, live here at the Ag Gear Booth Convention Center. And this is day 5.
Day 5.
Halfway over.
We are tonight. We will be halfway over in the NFR.
Yes.
And halfway to going home.
We're excited, but this is also a really cool opportunity to be here and connect with a bunch of people, just like these gentlemen we have here today.
Yes, we have
that word "gentleman" lightly.
Mr. Tim and Blain, his sidekick.
Welcome to the show.
Blain is Tim's sidekick, or Tim is Blain's sidekick, or something like
It
that.
just depends on what day it is, who's the sidekick.
Yeah.
So.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for all the claps.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. That one lady. Yeah, thanks, Mom.
And your wife isn't even looking at you.
Yeah, my wife didn't
that's
even
the way
applaud.
it goes.
She didn't even applaud.
Oh, there she is. Oh, hey, Mandy.
Oh, Mandy
Woo!
came.
She
Mandy
applauded.
figured it out.
And this lady over here in line at the Pendleton. And I think she only applauded because she was getting Pendleton.
It's in her first one, obviously.
Yep.
Well, Tim and Blain, thank you guys for joining us. Me and Tim actually got in touch a couple years ago. Tim is actually from Arkansas, down in both these boys are from Arkansas, down towards Little Rock. And Tim started following me, and I was like, who the heck is this guy? And we shot some messages back and forth. Ended up, the first time we ever met, we actually went to Nebraska and did some deer hunting together. And then ever since then, we've just became good friends and hit it off, and then finally got introduced to Blain, and it's just been back and forth.
We always heard about Blain. Like, we would hear all these stories about Blain, and I was wondering if Blain was even real.
I like to live in the shadows, boys.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, boys.
Blaine's always like, he doesn't say much. Sometimes he's not even around, but trust me, Blain is probably the biggest part of what we do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's got some good connections. All of us do. I think that's the coolest part about it. Yeah. So Tim and Blain are videographers. They have a lot of businesses that they are working with out here. Do a lot of stuff in the outdoor industry, but mostly now you guys are with Resistol, Cactus Ropes, doing some stuff with Cinch. What else you got on your plate?
Mostly, I mean, Resistol's obviously our biggest client. We do 95% of the video work for Resistol. So if you see anything Resistol, there's a pretty good chance we did it or Chris Douglas. So it's the two of us.
Yeah.
Our two companies together.
Nice.
Chris Douglas's company is called Big Enemy, and it's really cool. The Marlboro man look, and he's a man. Chris Douglas is a bad man. And but other than that, it's us and Chris. We do all the Resistol stuff. We also do, Cactus Ropes, Cactus Saddles, Cactus Gear. Done stuff for Cinch this last year.
Yeah.
A little bit of stuff for Wrangler in the past, Ariat. So, you've probably seen our stuff, just didn't know who it was. And like all videographers, it's like,
Unless somebody is standing there when you're watching it and you say, hey, I shot that, no one's ever really going to know.
100%. Yeah, it's but that's the gig, and we learned that early on because both of us came from filming in the outdoor industry, and the gig is when you film it, it doesn't belong to you anymore. Like, it belongs to the company you film for, and we don't require anybody to tag us in anything. It's just, hey, you paid us.
Part of it, yeah.
You own it. It's like, I always say, like, if I go into Walmart and buy a gallon of milk, Walmart can't tell me exactly how I'm supposed to drink it. So
there you go.
You have to drink it out of a glass.
Or out of the jug.
Maybe I want to drink it out of the jug.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
As far as I'm concerned, it's my milk. I get to drink it how I want.
We're just proud to be a part of it, right?
We are, yeah.
We get to meet great people and do great things and tell great stories. So at the end of the day, honestly, man, we don't need the recognition.
Yeah,
we just
sure.
I got you. How long have you guys been working together?
Oh, that's a great question.
So Blain and I Blain was in college. He lives like less than 10 minutes from me. And my backstory is I rodeoed for a living for 24 years. My family's been in rodeo my whole life. My dad's in every Hall of Fame, and then I just naturally grew up rodeoing for a living. When I quit, I don't know what possessed me to buy a camera, but I bought the old Vixia camcorders, the old Canon Vixia
Old
20s.
school.
Yeah, and a GoPro. And I went to Kansas to to film myself trying to kill this one particular deer I stayed 21 days and never got a shot at him. And when I came back, Blain came over. He used to come over and shoot archery behind my house.
Bow tournaments together, man. We were just friends at first.
And he was going to school, and he's like, hey, I need to make a film, for my college course. And he said, let's use that footage. I shot everything for 21 days, dude. Like, I never turned the camera off, 21 straight days. Yeah. And so there was just a whole bunch of crap. And
2.5 weeks worth of
2.5 weeks worth of just crap. And Blain and I sat down on my living room floor with a laptop and created a short film. And we entered it in the Badlands Film Festival, and we won the film festival. And from that, he went to work.
You didn't even kill this deer?
No.
You still won the film festival.
So you had a film of you literally just like sitting in a stand.
Yeah.
In every kind of element you can imagine for 21 days.
Would you see any other deer?
I actually ended up killing one at the end, but it wasn't the one I was after. Yeah. And after 21 days, I was like, I'd been through 70-degree days, 80-degree days,
20 degrees,
minus 6 days, and sleeting and snowing. And
I was 15 naps in the tree.
I was worn out, and so we made the film, and it worked out. And the rest is history. He went to work producing outdoor television for about 9 years, and
I produced 9 shows at one time. I edited 9 TV shows at one time.
And, so it started with the Kansas hunt.
And I got hired that night at the film festival by Plano Synergy to film hunts for them. Little did they know I had no idea what I was doing.
So from rodeoing straight to the outdoor industry, filming full time.
Yeah, literally, it happened
overnight.
It happened overnight.
Wow.
Like it like I'm saying,
within
it's
a couple
overnight
months
success,
of buying your first camera.
Yeah.
The next year was like such a learning experience for me, because I shot everything, and he'll tell you now I still shoot everything.
Yeah.
Because my theory is if the button's not pushed, it didn't happen, and I want it to be as real as it can be. So I want to shoot it. I don't want to have to try to go back, especially in rodeo. It's not like I can say, all right, hey dude, can y'all load that horse again and let this guy get back on it?
Right.
You either get it
or you
don't get it, and you get the story or you don't get the story, and it's hard to recreate. So I would rather overshoot than undershoot. Yeah. So that's kind of how we do. And Blain, when I walk in and we're dumping a terabyte of footage from a 2-day shoot, he's shaking his head the whole time, like he is now.
I feel you. I've been there for myself, and I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, I'll undershoot, and I'll be like, hey, I got exactly what I needed, depending on what I'm shooting. If you're telling a story, obviously, the more the merrier. But I think, what I love about the film festival thing is that that's part of actually what happens when you're deer hunting or rodeoing or whatever. Like you can have the storyline in your head all mapped out on exactly how it's going to go, but the people that are watching that, you might be chasing this deer, but the turn of events is what actually that's the reality of what happens, whether it's rodeo, outdoors, anything. So that's a cool element of being a videographer and a creator, is like, depending on what it is, you can like set everything up and make it happen, but like the natural things, the more candid things that you shoot, I have more interest in that, just because when you catch photos or video of something that's natural, for some reason they have a totally different element than a totally completely set up, production.
Can't replicate it, man.
Exactly.
Can't replicate that feeling.
Yeah, and all of us as videographers, I mean, and we can't say we don't sit around and pick everybody's crap off.
Right.
Because we do.
You have
Last night
to.
watching the rodeo.
But it's you're exactly right.
Yeah.
But we do. We see stuff. I'd have done that different. I'd have done this different. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't get that shot, it's really hard to recreate it and make it look the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, no matter what, true emotion's hard to recreate.
Right.
Like, you either got that shot or you didn't, because and that's why I overshoot so much. Probably is because of that. But the good thing about working for the companies we work for, Resistol, Cactus, those people, Resistol really knows we know the brand. They basically give us lenience, like, run with it.
Yeah.
The trust, man.
They trust us.
Yeah.
They trust us with their brand.
That's the greatest. When you have a client that gives you the reins, that like there's no better feeling, because being micromanaged as a videographer or creator is like the most frustrating thing, And so when companies come to you and they're like, hey, we trust you, you got this eye, you got an eye for it, you know what you're doing, it's way better.
When they macromanage you like that, as artists, as creators, you can't make it look natural. Yeah. It looks made up.
It's almost you're capped. You know,
rips your soul from you, dude.
Yeah,
rips every part
and at that
of it
point, you don't really want to give it everything you got. You know, when they give you a creative incentive, you can be like, hey, I want to try something new. You know, or and you don't have to worry like, oh, maybe they won't like this, so I'm just going to do what I do every single time.
And that's exactly what happened with me in the outdoor industry and him as well. So for all the years of us shooting stuff, and I can tell you right now, you saw if you watched Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's Channel for 10 years, starting like 3 years ago, you saw stuff he and I shot and produced. I mean, because I was freelance shooting for 4 or 5 different shows. He was producing 9 shows at one time. Dang. And so you saw it, you just didn't know it was us.
Well, I mean, all the graphics packages I did, just being a graphic artist for every other show out there. I mean, there's not that many people that do that. So,
but we learned like through that experience that was one of the things that made both of us get away from the outdoor industry was we were being micromanaged so much, like people giving you a specific shot list and this is what you're going to do and you're not going to do anything else, and it takes some of that creativity away from what your vision is, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and we're kind of a two-man band. I mean, we've both DP'd, we've both produced, we've both been, we've both directed, we've both done it all.
And grips and everything.
We've done whatever, but us together, I mean, you guys know, you shoot together, it's a different dynamic when I've got somebody with me that I know I can go do what I'm going to do, and I know he's going to get what he's going to get, and I don't need anybody else.
Right.
I don't have to call him. I don't have to text him. I know what he's getting.
He knows what I'm getting.
He's only ever used one clip of mine. and it
was bad to the bone.
And it's the one that's on the Dusty Myers
running out
when he's running out in Jacksonville. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is the only clip he has ever used of any of mine.
That's funny. And I'll give Mandy
credit.
But I got God, I got a $4,000 camera that I shoot on.
100%. Yeah. And we do have to give my wife credit. She will not come on here, but we take her with us occasionally on some shoots when she can go, and I don't know if I can say ass on here, but she has saved our ass a few times. Yeah. Like she has.
Let's go, Mandy.
Camera C has saved our butt. Like we both come in and said, I didn't get that. And he goes, I didn't either. And she's I got it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing.
That'll be 150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give her a little tip.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
So from the outdoor industry to the rodeo industry, how did you guys make that transition?
Well, it wasn't hard for me coming from the rodeo world. Like, and it was crazy because I kind of grew up around you. Everybody knows who Rocker Steiner is. Well, his family owned the largest rodeo company in the world at one time. Like from the 50s all the way through the 80s, they were the biggest rodeo company production-wise, stock-wise in the world. And my dad announced all their rodeos for the last 10 years that they were in business. And so I grew up on the Steiner Ranch, basically, with all the Steiners. And after my dad passed away, they started those rigging rallies. The Steiners actually started those rigging rallies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they had the one in Darby, and then Sid, Rocker's dad, had one at their house.
That was during COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was, no charge to get in. I mean, everybody just came and stood around the arena. There was like just very few little bleachers there. And my mom wanted to go and just see everybody, all of her old friends she hadn't seen in a long time. So I was literally fixing to sell all my cameras. I was so frustrated with the outdoor industry. You knew, you were with me like literally the month before, a couple months before. And I told you I was just frustrated with being, my hands being tied, and felt like, we just weren't being able to be creative, and it was getting harder and harder to get paid to be creative.
Yeah. Funny as I was in the same spot.
Yeah, and he was in the same spot. He was working 60 hours a week.
I was burnt.
And he was just burnt out. But I go to rigging rally with my mom. I'm literally done. I'm going to find something else to do with life. But this will just show you how God will have a plan for you. You don't even know it. Yeah. You have no idea. And we went just to hang out, and I took cameras because I thought, I've never shot any rodeo. I'm going to shoot some rodeo stuff here. And I got in the arena and started shooting stuff. And actually, Joey Austin from Huey introduced himself to me there and asked me who I was shooting for. And I said, nobody, just playing around. He looked at my footage and goes, man, he said, I've got a guy hired here. And he said, this is better than what he's shooting. And I don't even know who that guy was.
Yeah.
It obviously wasn't Bernard, because Bernard's a badass. We're not going to.
Yeah.
Bernard came in after me, and so he asked me to. He said, "Would you shoot for me this year?" And I was like, "Holy crap!" So when I came home, instead of selling all my cameras, I sold them all and bought new stuff.
Yeah.
And then I realized quickly that my skill set, editing wise, I mean, I can edit, but he is an editor.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And so I knew immediately, like, I was going to have help.
Right.
And so Blain was working for the other company, and he actually was just working with me on the side. And after basically the first year,
It wasn't a year.
well,
6 months.
Mary Jane called me like from Resistol literally in 6 months and said, "Hey, can you shoot something for us?" And I'm going to preface this by saying, like, I've known Mary Jane Carpenter since I was young. Ricky Boland, who was the president of Resistol at the time, I've known him since I was 10 years old. So I did have a really good connection there.
Yeah.
But they came and asked me about it. The first thing we shot was the Trevor Brazil commercial with Trevor and Tristan, and it was the NFR commercial for that year.
Lucky us on
And,
TV.
And yeah,
I mean,
Do
can't
what?
get no better. 26-time world champion.
26-time world champion. Yeah, so
It's a good start.
and it works out because most of these people that were shooting, I know personally. Like, I've known Trevor since he was a kid. I mean, like, we did the Roy Cooper deal. I rodeoed with Roy for a whole year.
Putting some age on yourself there.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm old. I'm not going to lie about that. But yeah, so that kind of just was a natural flow for me to come in, and then after a year, I was like, dude, like,
Writing's on the wall.
writing's on the wall, and he's like, so he quit his gig, and we became partners, and now with Wild Horse Motion, we just produce everything together.
So when did that start? When did you guys start Wild Horse Motion?
I actually started Wild Horse Motion probably the year before I got out of the outdoor industry, because I knew I was going to do something different, but I wasn't sure what. And I don't know why I came up with that name, Wild Horse Motion. I like bucking horses, and
Don't people call you Wild Horse?
yeah,
They
Yeah.
do call it Wild Horse.
And so actually I called my dad and I said, hey, I want to do this. I need a new logo for this company. And my dad's was pretty good at graphic design, taught himself, and he literally built the logo. And then he passed away the next year. So the logo that we still use is the logo my dad designed.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's Wild Horse Motion Films now instead of Wild Horse Motion.
And we got to give him some credit, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He wouldn't be in
100%.
these spots without Don.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. My dad's influence in the rodeo world, being a past NFR announcer. At one time, up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, there had only been 14 total announcers in the history of the NFR,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
because
Yeah, I didn't
they
either.
used to pick so many every year, and it just kind of alternated every 2 years. And then for years, it was
The same guy?
it was the same couple guys,
Yeah.
Yep.
So my dad was one of those guys, and just through his connections and everyone knowing me, I think 100% was a bonus for us getting our foot in the door in a lot of places.
Right.
And plus the fact that I did rodeo for a living for my most of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. How old were you when your dad first started announcing the NFR? Were you pretty
No,
young?
my dad announced the NFR in '84. The last year it was in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And I was 16, and so like I was there, like running around behind the chutes, like fully credentialed up, like you can't do now.
Yeah. I was going to say it's totally different
I didn't
now.
even have a
Good luck.
credential. I just walked in wherever I went. Like
Your last name was your credential
I
right
just
there.
stood behind the bucking chutes. I got in behind the bucking chutes. I was standing behind the roping boxes when Roy Cooper set the arena record for the NFR that year. Like I said in a post earlier, little did I know that, I think I was 16. When I was 20, I got in the truck with Roy, and that's who I rodeoed with my rookie year for the whole year. So standing behind that roping box that year, watching him set the arena record, and literally 4 years later, I was in a truck rodeoing with him, was pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. My dad started announcing rodeos in 76, really, is when he kicked off, and by 78 he was announcing Steiner's rodeos.
Yeah.
Wow. So then talk a little bit about him being in the Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it was So he actually he was alive when they inducted him in the Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame and the Texas Rodeo Hall of Fame. So he actually got to go to those inductions. Last year, he was inducted into the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. And he's actually nominated for the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. We don't know yet whether he's in or not. You don't know all that stuff. Takes time.
Yeah.
I mean, crap. Trevor just got in last year.
And it's been a couple years since he's been retired. Might take a minute.
So, but the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, that was the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame is obviously a huge step. My dad loves the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, just because it's everybody from Western entertainment. It's George Strait. It's Tom Mix, Roy Rogers. All those people are.
Yeah.
All the people he grew up watching, all the old TV movie stars and Wild West show people, and they're all in there. And for him to have his bust in there beside some of those people, I'm sure he appreciated it. I had to go accept for him. 100% the hardest thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be pretty tough. But I'm sure it was like such an honor, to just be their proxy.
Oh, man, it was crazy. Just getting to see everybody that I've known my whole life as growing up as a kid, seeing them all out there in that crowd, and knowing that they were there, remembering my dad, that was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We went to the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame when we went to.
We went to Cheyenne.
We went to Cheyenne, and we stopped by it. It's so cool to just go in there and see pictures and even some of the stuff that those guys had worn in the past, and you just those are legends, and I think. That's kind of different about today is that you see, back in the day, cowboys were just like cowboys. They didn't work out. It wasn't anything like that. Now it's like these guys are athletes, and some people take offense to that word, these athletes. But these guys are literally like Dusty Tugnis. That freaking dude is like Tim O'Connell. All these guys that are just like brick houses, and all they do is the lifting and the running and all this stuff. It's insane.
I think cowboys 100%. You have always had to be an athlete to be a professional rodeo cowboy, no matter what. I think back in the day, guys were just naturally athletes.
Yeah.
And they were just naturally gritty and naturally tough. And they didn't have to manufacture any of it. I'm not saying any of these guys do now.
Right.
I'm just saying that they didn't have that knowledge. There were no workout videos in the 60s, right? Or 70s. But I can tell you this, and this is really telling my age. When I was a little kid, the first time I went to the National Finals Rodeo was in 1977, and I was a little kid. And I can remember looking out the hotel room window, and there was snow on the ground everywhere, and I know it was way under 20 degrees. And I looked down, and the swimming pool was down below us, and I saw somebody swimming in the swimming pool. Swimming laps in the swimming pool, and it's under 20 degrees with snow on the ground. And I remember I told my dad, I said, "Dad, there's somebody swimming down there in the swimming pool." And he looked out there and he said, "That's Mahan." And it was Larry Mahan.
Yeah.
And every day before the rodeo, before the NFR perf, every morning, he went out there in the coldest part of the morning and he swam laps in that freezing cold swimming pool. And I won't ever forget that. But I also won't forget Bobby Hooter Brown walking up the alley in a huge fur coat with Tanya Tucker on his arm, and he had on Ray-Bans. And I thought, that guy's a cool cowboy. And I soon forgot about swimming in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to be that guy. I want to have a big feather in my hat and a fur coat, Ray-Bans, and a starlet on my arm walking up the alley.
Yeah. I also think, too, just the production side of rodeo, it's incredible. You can watch a hype video or just even being in the Thomas and Mack, the energy that I feel like rodeo has probably always been as jam-packed as you see on these videos and these promos and stuff, but just the technology and now, guys being more in tune with just keeping their bodies in condition and all this stuff. I think it brings rodeo to a whole nother aspect. It's
as far as production-wise, there's two people I think you can really think, maybe three. The Steiner rodeos were a huge production. He took a 30-piece orchestra to every rodeo. There was a full 30-piece orchestra playing live music throughout the entire rodeo.
Dang.
And he always had 2 dress acts and 2 clown acts in every performance.
That's crazy.
And it was a show, and they had huge openings with tons of flag girls. I mean, what you see at the national finals here now, that's what Steiner had at every rodeo. And I can tell you, Cotton Rosser in California, another huge showman. Like, it was a show, a production for him. But after that genre, who you can think for what's going on now with the production we have now, 100% you get to think Mac Altizer.
Yeah.
Mac Altizer. Bad Company Rodeo.
Yeah.
Right there. Mac Altizer came in with Bad Company Rodeo, brought in a DJ, started like the first rodeo they ever had. That instead of having a band or canned music playing, he brought in a DJ and they were pumping Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Modernized.
And all of a sudden it was everything. I mean, even down to like, he had a merch trailer. No one had a merch trailer.
Yeah.
He had a merch trailer that you could buy T-shirts, and every year was a different tour. And it had the Bad Company logo on the front, and it had the tour dates on the back, just like a
concert.
I mean, he had it figured out, and his rodeos were 100% the wildest, coolest rodeos to go to, and everyone went. And what you see today is a direct product of Bad Company Rodeo, because he brought it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really don't think rodeo would be as big as it is aside from the production. We've had so many people on our podcast, from rodeo announcers to rodeo clowns to music directors to you name it, and that is why rodeo is the way it is. I mean, obviously you got the Cowboys and they're good at what they do, but if you notice, there's only a couple that really have they all have good personalities, but on camera presence, personality is not really there. They're just there doing their thing. But the people that are keeping the crowd engaged, the music directors is a big thing. Like, I can't imagine what it would be like just sitting there watching stuff in silence, or just, I mean, it would be cool for us, like all the sound effects and stuff on the camera, but
definitely been to rodeos. Like, if the sound man doesn't know like when to hit it, it's boring. And them sound men, I mean, a sound man is who carries the rodeo.
What do we live by?
Right now, there's 2. Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you watch any of our films, it's like we try to be so far creative with our music choices. It's the same way with the sound guy.
Yeah.
But I'll go one further than that. You could take a sound guy away and have the best announcer in the world, and he can carry the rodeo.
Yeah.
He can. If you have a crappy announcer and a great sound guy, they'll get you by. But man, I'm gonna tell you, the announcer carries the rodeo, and the sound guy is basically the guy that helps him carry it.
Yeah.
Because an announcer can make or break your rodeo.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, you go to a rodeo and they got a $200 announcer, and they can have the best rodeo in the world, dude.
Pace is slow.
It's gonna not be good.
Yeah.
The first time something breaks down, and it's up to him to keep things
right. Well, and the back and forth from the clown to the announcer, that kind of stuff is like, I think, like one thing that really pointed out to me was Dusty was talking about, he came on Dusty Myers, and he was talking about, the interaction between him and the crowd, whether there's 100 people there or 100,000 people there. He's like, the reason that he's an entertainer is because the guys like Liesl Harris, Rudy Burns, those type of guys he grew up watching, and that's why he loved rodeo, is because of this entertainment aspect. I mean, he grew up bullfighting and doing all that stuff, but he knew he wouldn't be cut out to do it. He still wanted to be a part of it, and he wanted to make the show grow to where people wanted to come, and that's why he was so inspired to keep the production side rolling, because that's the most important part of the show.
A guy named J.G. Crouch was at Steiner Rodeo for 10 years. A lot of people don't realize this. Like, the first rodeo Leon Coffey ever worked was for Steiner as a bullfighter. Wow. And it was Mike Moore, Leon Coffey, J.G. Crouch. And we all stayed together for 10 years as a family. I mean, the same crew for 10 years. J.G. Crouch was one of the funniest people that I ever saw in my life, and this was before there were mics. He could walk across the arena and make you just laugh. Quail Dobbs, all these guys, Tom Feller, who now works for Justin, Tom Feller, Jim Bob Feller, those were the funniest guys in the world, and they didn't have the advantage of having a mic.
Right.
They just had to be funny.
Imagine those guys today with today's production,
They were 100% reliant on their ability to be funny and the announcer's ability to play off of them. And if you had a bad announcer that couldn't play off of them, they were just dead in the water.
Yep.
Because the crowd would have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, production-wise, I think everything's a lot different. There's a lot more people with cameras out there. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. It's like people say, you know, any press is good press. Not always. Not in our world. It's not, because bad press in the rodeo world is not a good thing.
Right.
You know, I mean, so I think that's why we have to be pretty, I don't know, selective. And I think that's why rodeo is sometimes a little selective. And rodeo guys in particular, they're a little more selective about who they let in their world, because, you know, I mean, we don't want anybody to show our guys looking, you know.
Yeah, trashy.
We don't want to make
them
them look. We don't want to make them look dumb.
Yeah.
And they're not, because these are the. I'm gonna tell you something. These, and I don't like the word athlete as far as our rodeo guys go, because they're athletes, 100%. But I still love the word cowboy. Love it.
Yeah.
Love the word cowboy. And the reason I love the word cowboy is because we're a specific group. Not everybody gets to be a part of it. Anybody can buy a basketball. Go learn how to play basketball. Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody can buy a football. Anybody can buy a baseball. Not everybody gets to be a cowboy.
That's right.
Not everybody gets to be a cowboy that wants to.
Yeah.
And so I still love that word. But I think what makes us the Cowboys actually the greatest athletes in the world is we compete with no guarantees.
Yeah.
We have to win to get paid.
You ain't got no contract.
No contracts, no guarantees. We compete, we win, we get paid.
Yeah.
You do the same thing to NBA basketball and say, okay, if you win,
We'll pay
you
you.
get paid. If you don't win, you don't get paid tonight.
Yeah.
See how much different those sports would look tomorrow.
Right.
It'd get a lot more competitive.
Yeah.
When
and
you got guys like Rocker Steiner here riding with basically a broken wrist,
Yeah.
his thumbs, you know, and he's getting on every night the rankest horses in the world.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it.
Yeah, and he'll finish the week for sure.
Right. Yeah.
You know, last year the Kai Hamilton story was the coolest story ever. I mean, I hated it. Gets knocked out, basically wiped out, comes back the next day, wins $106,000 in the world.
Yeah.
You know, that's what being a cowboy is all about right there. And I doubt you'll ever see that in any other sport.
Well, I think the biggest thing too, adding on to that, is just a community. You know, those guys, they want but obviously you want to win, but you want your buddy to win just as bad. I mean, you're pulling his bull rope, you're cheering him on. Like, it's the community of the sport, and of just, you know, the commodity of all the people is exactly why the sport is the way it is. Even people, you know, we've said it 1,000 times. You can walk up to, you know, Stetson or JB or Dale Brisby, even, like all these guys, like everybody's so real. It's not like the NBA where, you know, and some of those guys probably are pretty real, but not in a community like this. Like Vegas is so cool to me because, you know, we could have somebody walk right through here that might be rodeoing tonight, and they're just like me and you know. We'll sit down and have a conversation, shake hands, say, hey, how you doing? And then it's like, you know, next year they're like, oh, hey, I remember you from last year. How's your family? How's all them, you know? So I love that aspect of it too.
Same way for me when I rodeoed for a living. The one thing, you know, I never turned anybody down if they wanted to ride my horse or they needed to ride somewhere. I had a lot of great guys ride my horse, probably roped way better than I did, you know. But I never turned anybody down. I always was like, yeah, you need a ride, dude, you can ride my horse wherever. But I also knew that I was going to be afforded that same luxury. If I pulled up and I needed a ride, these guys were going to let me on. And we're competing against each other.
Yeah.
We're trying to pay our bills by winning first,
Yeah.
you know, or second or whatever. But I'm not gonna leave him hanging just because I want to win first. This is my guy, you know. We're gonna if he wants to ride my horse today, I'm gonna let him. And if I need to ride his horse tomorrow, he's gonna let me. And that's just the way we work, you know. I mean, you see guys. I saw guys back in the day that didn't even particularly like each other, like literally kind of didn't particularly like each other, and you knew they kind of had a little animosity towards each other. But if one of those guys needed to ride the other one's horse, they'd never leave him hanging.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love it. That's the way it should be everywhere. I mean,
yeah.
But I think that's why a lot of people are like, you know, they have so much respect for, you know, the just anyone in general, just the manners, the way that their kids are raised. You get life skills out of the whole experience. You get to be able to communicate with people. You make a lot of friends. Seems like you could be like, oh, hey, do you know so and so? No, but I know someone who does, and it's like everybody. It's a really tight knit family.
It's special, dude.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it is.
You're never alone out
Yeah.
here, even us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We always know when we're on the road.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody close, whether we need it or not.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody that you would consider family. That if you pick up that phone, guess what? They're showing up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I always, I've got friends I made rodeo on, throughout my whole life. That like anytime I know, we talk about it all the time. Like there's people you can call and you can be, broke down in Reno and they have to drive 20 hours to get you and they'll come get you. You know, I mean, you got those friends that you made, throughout your life rodeoing, and they get it. They're still there. They're still around. But I think it's kind of, it's weird that like right now being a cowboy is kind of cool, because of all the TV shows
and whatnot
and all that stuff, and you're like, this is kind of cool. And when I was a kid, I saw it happen like that again, but it was an urban cowboy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we ride mechanical bulls for a living.
Yeah, they actually had guys that rode mechanical bulls for a living. Like they would go to contests to get on mechanical bulls. And
Get
I remember,
a back number.
it was a funny story because I remember when I was a kid, we were in St. Louis, Missouri at the Steiner Rodeo, and they had the world champion mechanical bull rider, and he came to the rodeo, and he was getting on a bull, and it was
Horrible.
we carried him out.
Jeez.
I mean, it was, I think he made 2 jumps.
Yeah.
They let him get on a turnout because back then, if somebody turned out and didn't come, they would pay some guy that worked in the back pens $10 to get on that bull. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'd get on him for $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this guy was like, I want to come get on a bull. I'm the world champion mechanical bull rider. And he showed up, dude. He had the feathers on his hat. He looked straight out of Gillies, baby. I mean, he was straight from Gillies in Houston, Texas. And he came up there to get on that bull. And I remember I was pretty young. And I was standing by the fence watching. I was thinking, man, this guy's going to get killed.
Yeah.
And sure enough, about 2 jumps, he gets jerked down, ends up getting stepped on all over, and
man.
ripped his pretty shirt up and everything. And they carried him out of the arena, and he was back there in the back, and he was like, whew, I don't think I'm going to do that again.
Stick to the ones.
Yeah,
that
I'm
get
gonna stick to the
unplugged.
padded landing. Yeah.
Yeah, the airbag wasn't there on that one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it was, there were some cool times growing up around that stuff. I mean, I got to see a lot of cool people growing up, the Monty Hensons, the Donnie
Yeah.
Gays. My dad was actually announcing the NFR the year Donnie won his last world title,
That's awesome.
and it was also the first year Lane Frost made the NFR.
Wow.
There's a video out there somebody sent me the other day. Mandy probably knows where it is. Someone said, is that your dad in the background? And my dad's standing on the announcer stand at the NFR. He's apparently whoever was announcing with him announced Lane's ride, that ride.
Uh-huh.
And Lane's riding this bull, and my dad's on the announcer stand, and he's like riding every jump. It's like my dad was the national high school champion bull rider. So my dad didn't just decide he wanted to be an announcer.
Yeah.
He was a cowboy.
in
He rode bulls. He won every amateur association. He was a national high school champion bull rider, a reserve national high school champion bull rider. So he could ride. So in his heart, he was still riding bulls. So he's looking out there at Lane on this bull, and he's like, you can see him in the background like he's riding every jump with Lane.
Yeah.
And it was pretty crazy.
That's pretty funny.
Yep.
So, kind of lastly, I just kind of want to wrap up on this, but I was just thinking about this. But we've talked a lot about production and stuff, and Vegas is like the World Series or the Super Bowl of rodeo, people call it. And I just think this is where the top 10 guys in every single event and ladies,
15.
top 15,
Top
sorry,
15.
15, and like even when it comes to the bullfighters, the personnel, sound guys, announcers, and the production at the NFR, it's, it might sound silly, but seriously, when you walk in the Thomas and Mack, if they were to take this to Texas and they did it at AT&T Stadium, I don't think that it would be the same. Like, I've been to the American a couple times. We've been to big events and stuff, but I think that Thomas and Mack is just such a special place because there's so much history there as well. Coming from outside of Oklahoma City and the sport growing so much with, the personnel, the sound design. I mean, like
the experience that you get in Vegas,
Yeah.
like the whole thing. I mean, it's all electric. I mean, there's no other place in America that you can go that's going to have enough hotels, enough convention space, stuff to do every single night that you're not going to the rodeo. You can go to all kinds of shows. And then, like Nace was saying, walking into the Thomas and Mack, it's so little. It's cram-packed in there. Yeah, it still fits 17,000 people, but them 17,000 people are on top of each other.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, too, is like, from round number 1 to round number 10, you get the same energy. It doesn't matter. Those guys on round 10, they might be freaking beat up and whatever, but dude, those guys are going to give everything they got, and you're getting the same energy you did night number 1. I think that is the biggest thing about, Vegas and the NFR is the atmosphere, the people, the athletes, the personnel, everything. This is the biggest production, the biggest stage, and, we get to, when you're there, it's unexplainable, It's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, really, if you haven't ever been.
There's honestly, I don't think any place else that they can have the NFR that with all the extras that go on around it. Because you got to think, there's kid rodeos going on all over town.
Yeah.
Like
there's breakaway
6 or 7 of
ropings.
them.
The World Series of Team Ropings going on at
South
Point. You've got the Cowboy Christmas that we're at. There's also like a couple more going on throughout the
Everywhere.
town. There's something, and it's all within driving 5 minutes, 10 minutes driving. You can be at all these places, and there's no place else you can do this.
Right.
So when Benny Binion, brought this thing in here in 1985, he said it would never leave.
I'd say he's right.
And he said as long as he was alive, which he's not anymore, unfortunately, but when Benny Binion brought this in here, he says, as long as I'm alive, it'll never leave Las Vegas. And, the Michael Gons and the people like that have carried on that tradition to keep the NFR right here, and there's no reason for it not to be. You can ask any Uber driver, cab driver, your waitress at wherever you go to eat. This is like one of the biggest times of the year for them right now.
And their favorite.
Yeah, because the city of Las Vegas always makes money, obviously. These casinos are not built because they are losers, but the fact that these people, we bring so much money in. You can just look around these halls, they're packed. We bring so much money into this town this time of year, and it's great for Vegas. It's great for the Cowboys. And you're exactly right about that electricity in there. It's there for this generation since '85. There has never been another Thomas. There's never been another NFR.
Right.
As long as you've been alive.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw the NFR in Oklahoma City. It wasn't like this. It was still a gathering.
Still just a rodeo.
It was still completely packed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was still, everyone from the rodeo world was there. All the movie stars came, sat in box seats. The Steiner family always had like 3 box seats, and there was always movie stars in those box seats.
Yeah.
And so it was still kind of the same back then, but it wasn't the same energy.
Right.
It's a different energy now because production's changed. There's more stuff that goes on with it. When they first crack that music on, and that gate's fixed
In the still of the
crack down
night.
there.
Yeah, the white snake
Yep.
hits. Oh,
Yep.
dude. Yeah.
And all that's different. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool that we get to be a big part of it. That's the coolest part. There's so many different vendors and different people that actually have a piece of it, and it's not just the people there. We all kind of get to have that experience. So I'm super grateful that we, have these opportunities as videographers, as creators, as podcasters, whatever, vendors. It's just pretty dang cool that we all get to.
We're blessed.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to promote a lifestyle that we love.
Yeah.
Whether it's just the Western lifestyle, whether it's a rodeo lifestyle, whether it's a ranching lifestyle, man, that's our lifestyle. It's where we came from. That's where we're at. That's what we love. And at the end of the day, all of us as creators and videographers and cinematographers and filmmakers, we're all trying to tell those stories in our own way.
Right.
And I tell people, like, so long as you're showing it in the best light possible, there's no wrong way to tell it.
That's right.
There's no wrong way to tell it. Everybody's got their own style. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. There's no wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Just so long as you're showing it in the best light possible and showing who these people are and the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into their lifestyle. And I think there's a lot of people out there doing it. You guys, us. I mean, we could name 1,000 people. I'm not going to, but because I'll leave somebody out and then they'll be pissed.
Right.
So you didn't say my name.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys have been pretty busy, so we appreciate you taking some time to come chat with us. So
We've been wanting to do this for a while.
I know we've been trying to make it happen. Finally, we did. We'll have to do another episode where we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into it. But I mean, with the time we have, and just it's cool to be able to have everybody in the same location to make something happen finally.
Yeah.
So
Well, shoot, I'm super proud of you guys. You guys have been killing it.
Thank you.
We keep up with everything. Sometimes I'll comment on there and you delete it.
Yeah.
And
What? That's never happened. Never happened.
Ever.
But the funnest part last night was watching the rodeo, all of us together.
Yeah, it was fun.
We had a good
Yep.
night,
That
guys.
was a good time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So, it was good.
Well, the way we end our podcast is we ask our guests what the first song is that comes to their mind, and then we sing. So I know you know this, but I don't know if you guys have a song in mind, but you better be ready because we got like 1,000 people watching us here. Better be a good song.
Oh, it's got to be Bad Company. Bad Company.
Oh. Bad Company.
That's a good choice.
All right. Let's see if we're connected.
Good company, but it's the Bad Company song.
Since we mentioned Bad Company, and that's the reason they named their company Bad Company, guess we should say Bad Company. I know it's on Spotify because I listened to it.
Wrong one. Oh, that was it.
That was it.
Five Finger Death Punch. That's a remake. Isn't it Bad Company?
That's got to be a remix.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
It's not playing though. Come on. That one, right?
It's that one.
This
Right
one?
there. Yep. Bad Company, Bad Company. That's it.
I'm gonna go to the chorus here.
Throws a gun and threw
Sing it.
away
You know the
the
words.
sun.
You're wanting to sing it. They said, "What should we end the podcast with?" I thought this was perfect.
Sound
She knows the words. You should
is our
sing it.
claim to fame.
She knows the words because she's heard it 1,000 times.
You better get over here. This is your one time to get on the
Come on,
podcast.
come on, Mandy. Get over here.
Bad company, I can't deny. Bad company, till the day I die. Till the day I die.
Killed that, Tim. We appreciate y'all checking in, sticking around.
And listening to another episode of the Everything Rodeo Company, Everything Rodeo Podcast. I'm still
Bad
talking about company. Thank you, Tim and Blaine, for coming on. And if you guys haven't seen any of their stuff, check out Wild Horse
Motions.
Motion
Yes.
Films.
We'll drop some of the
Actually,
links
just
down
check
below.
out Resistol's YouTube channel because that's where it all is.
There you go. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.